What's up, Chiefs Kingdom? Welcome to another special episode of Outside the Trenches. BJ Kissel with Nick Leckey and Tucker Franklin talk a little bit about the 9-4 Chiefs hosting the 8-5 Chargers at SoFi Stadium in Inglewood, California on Thursday Night Football. The Chiefs have that short week here late in the season, but it is a stadium the Chiefs should get comfortable with, considering they'll be back in another 60 days from Thursday playing in Super Bowl LVI, calling it already. Again, we appreciate everybody for watching us out there on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, and those listening after the fact on Apple Podcast. Thank you for all of the support. Nick, we'll start with you. Just how satisfying was that beatdown of the Las Vegas Raiders last Sunday night?
I want to know if that was coach initiated or player initiated for the dance on the logo. I mean, I just don't. I mean, talk about false confidence and rah-rah shit that I can't stand. Like, what's the point? Are you sending a message that you're mediocre and you want to get stomped? Like, I mean, why poke a bear when a bear's red hot?
And that bear's been dominating you for so long.
Not even that. Look at the past 4 games as defense and what Las Vegas offense has been about, man. I mean,
no.
It's amateur.
We'll continue to get into that because it's my favorite thing. And if the Raider, we talk about rivalries kind of like dying off and players, free agency, you hang out, you don't really care as much. And then the Raiders do dumb things like take a lap around Arrowhead and then they go stomp on our logos. Like, thank you. And everybody's marketing is like, thank you for pissing off Chiefs fans, as you just brought it back to real life a little bit. But Nick, I think my favorite part of the whole thing was Derek Carr after the game being asked about it. And he was like, I'm not going to throw my teammates under the bus because I'm going to support whatever basically dumb ideas they do. So I'm going to support them. So I had their back. And it was like, okay, you just basically said it's a terrible idea.
Yeah.
You didn't want to do it, but I'm going to support them. Kind of just throwing them out. Anyway, but Tucker, I know your thoughts on it because I sat next to you the entire time it was happening. We talked about it the entire game, but as we get ready, and we're going to break down everything with this game on Thursday night, obviously with the short week, huge game with implications in the AFC West, Tucker, but you've got a little update because there's a long, very distinguished list of injured Chargers this week right now. Obviously with the short week, it's going to be a huge storyline. What do you got as far as an injury update that the Chargers are dealing with right now?
Well, I went ahead and wrote it all down on my piece of paper, and I'll show you my notepad here. It's full. And I went ahead and wrote stars next to people, drew stars next to people that are kind of important, that are okay, that guy's pretty decent. There's 7 stars on here. So 7 players that I think are pretty decent players. Jared Cook, quad, did not practice. Now, it should be noted on Monday, both teams didn't practice. This is an estimation that if they would have practiced, would have been their status. Austin Eckler, he's dealing with an ankle injury. He would not have practiced. Derwin James, hammy, didn't practice. Linval Joseph, shoulder, didn't participate. Donald Parman Jr., he had a knee he didn't participate in. Asante Samuel Jr. is dealing with concussion. He was the only projected limited participant. Everybody else would not have practiced. So Mike Williams, a heel, didn't participate. They also had Trey Marshall dealing with an ankle and a hand injury. I thought that was a kind of an interesting combo there. Didn't participate. Justin Jones, ankle and a knee, didn't participate. And Alohi Gilman with a quad did not participate. They've also been dealing with COVID. And they had Keenan Allen go on the COVID list before last week's game. He'll probably be back. I'm not 100% sure his status, his vaccination status, all that, anything. But they did put Rashawn Slater, who's basically been their only good offensive lineman, on the COVID list. And I think he is vaccinated. I need to check with my Chargers guy. I'm pretty sure he is vaccinated, so that means he can return with 2 negative tests before Thursday. So 2 negative tests, 24 hours apart, and he has to be asymptomatic on the top of that. So that's going to be pretty big to watch. Chiefs have some COVID stuff of their own. Just before we hopped on, Chris Jones was added to the COVID protocol, along with Josh Gordon. I thought the wording was interesting from Andy Reid when he said it's the COVID protocol, not that he tested positive for COVID. So it could be something where it's a close contact, but we'll see.
Yeah, I would also caution anyone to overly analyze Coach Reed's words when it comes to injuries. I know it's COVID and all of that, but Coach Reed just kind of throws it out there and then puts it on Rick or somebody else if there's confusion to come out. But there's so much more now with information that the beat writers, so anybody listening, follow on social media, there's going to be clarity as far as what that means for these big time players. And the way the Chiefs defensive front is playing, and we'll get into that when we break down this matchup, but the way the Chiefs defensive front has been playing over the last 5 weeks, they absolutely need Rashawn Slater, who, even though he's on another team, will give credit when credit's due. I know we've got Trey Smith, we've got Creed Humphrey, but on the same token at left tackle, Rashawn Slater could very well, and I'm stealing the analysis from Duke Manyweather, because when it comes to offensive line, I'm just going to parrot whatever Duke says, because he's the guy, and he does train Rashawn Slater in full disclosure, but Rashawn Slater's playing at an all-pro level. Nick, I know you were nodding when his name came up. Just how special has Slater been from what you've seen?
Just from week 1 on, he's just been dominant. He's super athletic, super hungry, just slotted right in. And from week 1, week 2, it was him and Trent Smith, as far as, who are like your top tackles in the league. And you got young guy, old guy, and he's playing like an established vet. And it's really cool to see. I mean, it's pretty, like, that'll be something I'll be watching if he clears protocol. I'll be watching whoever he's matched up against versus that left side.
I think you combine two of the top tackles. I think you combine Trent Williams and Tyron Smith. Trent Smith. Those are two of them. They're just switch them out, but those guys are absolute studs. Tucker, what do you got?
Duke Manyweather also trains Trey Smith and Creed Humphrey. Yeah. So now you look at his pedigree of the guys he's trained. This is obviously a pro Duke podcast, but just looking at his body of work, yeah, I mean, come on.
He's doing pretty well. He trained other guys that we've all heard of over the years, but very much a pro Duke podcast here. So, guys, before we get into the show, I do want to thank our sponsor, Jack Stack Barbecue. Obviously, you've got the 6 locations. You can go ahead in Kansas City, but they are also running gift card promotions right now for the holiday seasons. Jack Stack gift card promo. If you purchase a $100 gift card and you gift that to somebody for the holidays, you yourself will receive a $20 bonus gift card to use for yourself. Again, spend $100 on a gift for somebody else, get a $20 gift card for yourself. You can find the link on how to do that here in our comment section right now, or you can just go to jackstackbbq.com for more information, or follow any of their social media channels. It's a nice little gift for the holiday season. And so we were also gifted some information this morning, not Chiefs related, but definitely somebody that we all know and want to have an opportunity on this platform to show a little love to Sam Mellinger, of now formerly the Kansas City Star, as he accepted the vice president of communications position, taking over for the legend Mike Swanson, and he was moving over and working for the Kansas City Royals. I know, Tucker, we were talking a little bit before we went on and went live today. Your thoughts on this, because there's a lot of people that are going to be saying a lot of positive things all day for very good reason about Sam, and you yourself were sharing a story.
Yeah, I think that growing up in the Kansas City area, I had always wanted to be a sports writer. I'd known that for a long time. Like, ever since I saw Stuart Scott on TV, I was like, yeah, I think I want to do that. Stuart Scott made it cool. And then once I started to follow the local guys around town, I grew up, a lot of people grew up with Joe Poznansky, Jason Whitlock as their sports writer, sports columnists. I got Sam Mellinger, luckily. And so I got to read his work, and I really learned to just enjoy his writing. And when I went to college, I even connected with Sam a few times, and he really helped me out with my own writing style as a writer. And he's always been so gracious with his time with me, just to meet with me, sit down with me, talk with me. When I had Roughing the Kicker, the Chiefs podcast last year, he sat down and we had I think an hour-long conversation just about the Chiefs and what they're doing heading into the playoffs, like one of the most stressful and intense times. And he gave an hour of his time to me. So I think every time I've tried to write a tweet to say congratulations to Sam, I always run out of characters. And because there's so much I just want to say. So I'm so happy for Sam, and I'm excited to see what he does with the Royals. I think that's incredibly awesome. And it's great to see good guys like him get good work.
I've joked about this with Sam over the years, because when my wife and I were living in San Diego years ago, back in like 2009, I had just joined Arrowhead Pride as a freak, as a writing fan post, contributing however I could, just trying to, converse with other Chiefs fans while we were living out in California. It's how I got my start, for anyone who didn't know that. And one of the first people I reached out to was Sam. And when the Chiefs played the Chargers out there, and I'm pretty sure it was the year that like Brody Croyle got that start. And I knew I was a homer back then because I had convinced everybody at my tailgate that we had a shot in that game. I was like, nobody knows what Brody Croyle can do. Like, you have no idea. He'd go out there and sling it around. We had like 60 yards total offense in that game. Like it was brutal. But I think it was the day before. I think that was the year. But the day before that, Sam and I met at Cass Street Bar and Grill. And I ordered a teriyaki steak sandwich for him, which if anyone knows me, if anyone ever goes to San Diego, I tell them to go to that dive bar and order that sandwich at that spot in Pacific Beach because it's a great little spot. But Sam gave me like an hour of his time when he was on the road, covering a game as a professional media guy. Here I am, this blogger, doesn't really know what he's doing, just trying to make my way through it and have fun at that time. I had no idea what I was going to try to do with it. I wasn't trying to get a full-time job or do anything like what's happened. And he gave me, like Tucker, what you said, he gave me some of his time and we got to know each other and developed a really good friendship, starting kind of there, and just being like, man, this guy was so accomplished at the time. We all knew who he was. I've said for a long time, he's the best writer in this city, always has been, as long as I've been, covering or following anything Chiefs related, and the way that I kind of have been now. And he was just so down to earth and gracious with his time. I think it's awesome for the Royals to give him this opportunity. Definitely like an outside the box for that position, for a PR communications position. But he's the perfect person to bridge that gap. And it's going to be great for Royals fans. It's going to be great for people who cover the team. I'm going to laugh, the first time Vahe and those guys getting a disagreement, going from coworkers to, covering the same team. That's going to be a fun thing for all of them, but couldn't be more happy for Sam and for Royals fans in general, everybody in Kansas City. He's one of the good ones, and it's a great opportunity for him. Nick, kind of put you on the spot now. Did you cross paths with Sam? I didn't know if you knew that news. We haven't talked beforehand, but he accepted that job, taking over from Mike Swanson, who tweeted out how happy he is for Sam as well. But what are your thoughts?
I've always enjoyed Mellinger's minutes. I've always thought, his tweets were really smart. I don't read much. I know it sounds weird. I don't read much sports media. I watch film and, some death scroll through Twitter every now and again. But Sam's always been, he's well respected in his community. And I think it's great the Royals doing that move. By the way, I'm a big fan of people putting out bodies of work regarding writing, being on ESPN, Fox, any of those major sports outlets, and saying, you know what? This guy can do it. Is it Mayock? Is he the Raiders GM? Right. I mean,
currently
fantasy,
yes.
Yeah, right. Fantasy guy, but he assembled a great squad. He's, and I really like that. It's like, you prove yourself, and I think it's one of the advantages of Twitter is that, and Mellinger earned his stripes, man. Good for him.
Yeah. And the media landscaping is changing. You go talk to like college students. I know, Tucker, you've joked about like being somebody who talks to students now. It's like, you don't know what to tell them. I didn't know what to tell them 5 years ago. And media is completely different now than it was 5 years ago. And even then it was like, I don't know what it's going to look like. The jobs that, kids are going for now don't exist. And so for the Royals to kind of think through that kind of way, especially for that position, and I know that people that kind of get into this understand the kind of dynamics of the communications roles and just kind of how it works with media and the asks and all that. And to get somebody with that background, it's a really unique move. I haven't heard a lot of companies or organizations doing things like that. So anyway, more power to you, Sam. Let's get into this Chiefs Chargers game on Thursday night. And let's go to the front of the queue, our 3 hot topics to break down for this game. And Nick, I want to start with you. Are the Chiefs the best defense in the NFL right now? Which is amazing. 7 weeks. Like if you would have fast forwarded, like rewind and heard this topic, you would have thought we were just trolling everybody. But are they the best defense in the NFL right now?
I would say, night and day. I believe that they were a top 10 defense to start this year. When everyone was hopping off the bandwagon, we were shedding all the fair weather fans, is they had a squad. They really did. And it just, they've top to bottom. You look at, front 7, you look at your back 4, they're just playing well together. And it's like, there's a couple standouts, Ingram and Chris Jones, but everyone's a role player. Like everyone knows their role. Everyone knows their assignments. They've been battle tested. they've played all the top 5 teams and gotten their best shot and, made it out limping, of course, for sure, with some L's. But they're battle tested. They're coming together when it's good. And man, you can't put up points on these guys. And it's mind boggling for me. And then they're not really doing it with, they're doing it with turnovers, but they're not relying on turnovers in the red zone. They're just putting the clamps on people. And that's cool. Cause turnovers are kind of lucky-ish, right? But they're just solid. There's no weak spots right now.
I think I saw like 13 turnovers, 15 sacks over the last 6 games, averaging just like over 10.8 points per game or just under 11 points per game. There's like 85 Bears type stats. And like, it's not being like super homer to bring up these stats. Like these are facts over, I know, rotating in points and all that kind of stuff. But over the last 6 weeks, they have been dominant. Tucker, what do you think? Are they the best defense in the NFL?
I think as of now, yeah, you'd have to say so. Matty Lane called them the 2085 Chicago Ravens, with the combination of the 2000 Ravens and the 1985 Bears. I think that is a little too far. Matty exaggerating, that's kind of crazy to think about. But I think they've been playing really well. And one of the things that really sticks out to me is over the last, 5 weeks, they've allowed what you said, 11 points. You know who's played the last 6 weeks is Melvin Ingram. I think Melvin Ingram, that missing piece kind of coming in and really everything just kind of clicked, right? I know we talked about in the preseason, like the Chiefs do need another end opposite of Frank Clark, and they didn't really get it. They're like, oh, Chris Jones can play end, and that didn't really work out. He's a lot better at a 3 tech because the speed go against the guard is so much better than it is against the tackle. Then they got that other end, and you're like, oh, this is it right here. This is what this D-line's supposed to look like if you're going to spend the most money on the defensive line. This is the production you want. Melvin Ingram has helped kind of propel not only Chris Jones to what he is, but Frank Clark has been playing incredibly well. This is probably the best stretch of his career. His interior spin move, I know that's going to be looked at by Craig Stout, I believe tomorrow morning on the KCSN Substack. We've already been talking about it in the DMs about how they lined everybody up to try to get to the looks that they would get from the Raiders. Just a big old chess match. I'll let Craig explain it, and you can read that in your email, kcsn.substack.com. You can find that there because it's just incredible how the Chiefs have been able to use both Frank Clark, Chris Jones, and Melvin Ingram to create these different looks and create havoc for these offensive lines that don't know what to do when you have to account for 3, sometimes 4 different guys with Tershawn Horton in there, especially on the pass rush. You got to account for all 4 of those guys. You can't just have one free guy or double team one guy. You got to put bodies on those guys. So I think that's been a huge part of how this defense has gotten good is the defensive line.
Yeah, I think Chris Jones, I think I saw it on Pro Football Focus that Chris Jones and Frank Clark are both in the top 5 in pressures created over the last 6 weeks. And so I just equate the Chiefs defense to that gif that we've seen of Aiden Hutchinson, the Michigan defensive end who's running around where he's like, come at me, like just run it right here. And he just completely bull rushes the left tackle. It just feels like every time we've been watching the Chiefs defensive line, they are just absolutely brutalizing opposing offensive lines. All right, guys. Here's the $1 million question that I'm curious if we all agree or we have the same take, but did the Chiefs offense figure it out against the Raiders, or was this just a product of the Chiefs once again facing less too high looks, which has been the storyline for the last basically all season, is the Chiefs have struggled to put up the same kind of numbers than they have in the past. And you look at the stats, they were facing so much too high. Well, the 2 games they haven't faced a lot of too high are the 2 games against the Raiders. The only 2 times they've played less than 40% too high looks. So did Patrick Mahomes go out and throw 7 touchdowns and like 8,000 yards against the Raiders because they figured it out, or just because they got a look that allows them to go out and make plays? Nick, I'll let you go first.
I think what you got is 2 real running back threats to finally get where we thought, Edwards, Hilaire, and Williams would be last year. And when you get that sort of production, you can't do that anymore. When you got a running back, when Williams is getting, 7 catches for 100 yards, you can't do that anymore, man. You got to be like, man, what you want, man? We'll get you from the wheel routes coming out of the backfield, or we'll get you on that top end. So, I mean, the Chiefs have that ability now to truly stretch the field with it ain't about what you have. It's about what the numbers have been showing you. And, both running backs have been catching on the backfield. So that's sort of made defenses sort of like, how do you want to die today? Basically.
Yeah, the Darrell Williams shoot route is definitely one that we've all seen and has now become like kind of his go-to play.
That's exactly what I was going to say with Darrell Williams and him becoming that third threat essentially after Travis Kelce, maybe even that second threat, because Travis Kelce's been draped this whole season. He's becoming that other receiving threat that Chiefs fans have been looking for. And if I would have told you at the beginning of the season Darrell Williams would be doing what he's doing, you wouldn't believe me. Because just let that dude, that his whole career arc is great. His story is incredible. So it can't happen to a better guy. And I really just love Darrell Williams' just like play style and everything. And Nick, you mentioned just both of those backs being effective, also running the ball. Just see Clyde Edwards-Helaire and see that vision from Clyde Edwards-Helaire near their goal line is incredible. This offensive line is built to run the ball. So once they can effectively do it like they did against the Raiders, man, this defenses are in trouble.
Yeah, and I'm going to agree. I think it's a little bit of both. I think when you give to the original question of is it more of the Chiefs figuring out, is it more just the scheme they were facing? I think it's a combination of everything. Obviously, you're going to get better looks, but you also judge it based on just how comfortable they look in the pocket. How's Patrick Mahomes look in the pocket? How's the offensive line doing things like getting out in space and setting up the screen game, like what you're talking about, Nick, and that running game and being physical. And those guys are only getting better. Creed Humphrey, Trey Smith, the physicality up front. You're starting to get to the point where some other teams are going to start thinking about the offseason, start thinking about some of their vacations. They're not going to think about wanting to get in there and necessarily do the dirty work, which the Chiefs offensive line necessarily hasn't had guys with the same intentions in the running game that those guys do up front now. So that's going to be funny. All right, excuse me, that's going to be fun to watch as we get closer into the offseason. Guys, the last question I have here for this first segment in front of the queue, it's a loaded kind of a leading question because I already have my answer, and I'll start with it. Is Tyrann Mathieu the best free agent signing in the history of the Kansas City Chiefs? And I think it's not overly complicated when you look back at the history. You only have a couple of Super Bowls, and the ultimate goal is that. But I don't think we're ever going to give this guy enough credit. As much as we give Patrick Mahomes on the offensive side of the ball, we need to give Tyrann Mathieu equal amount of credit on the defensive side of the ball to set the tone. And everything he's doing off the field, on the field, it's just, there's no more impactful player, in my opinion, the Chiefs have ever signed. Tucker, what do you think?
Yeah, that's my Chiefs history doesn't go back very far because I'm 12 years old, but I
He's
have to think this.
Googling it.
Chiefs history as a tab up on my browser right now. But no, I think that you got a great point. And there's a lot of midseason acquisitions too. I started thinking of when you talked. I know that's not the question you asked, but like Melvin Ingram midseason acquisition is like one that Terrell Suggs was kind of the same way too. But I think this Melvin Ingram one is like, this could go down in history as like one of the dumbest trades from the Steelers. Right? A 6th round pick for that guy? Are you kidding me?
They stink. Yeah, but like they're not going to go anywhere if they had him. And they got Taco Charlton.
He was a backup. He was a backup
time, baby,
in Pittsburgh.
Yeah. So I mean, we got Priest Holmes here. Is what I don't even want to try to pronounce. Chessie, my anti-drug, on Twitch. Thank you for watching on Twitch, on the Twitch. Sorry, excuse me. But yeah, I don't really. I think it'd have to be Mathieu in my head.
I think it's the combo of Mathieu and Frank. Both signed around the same time, and you got guys who, a true definition of grit. You got Tyrann, grew up in the rough parts of New Orleans, and you got Frank, who grew up in the rough parts of Los Angeles. So I think it's two cats who are probably used to run the streets back in in their youths, and guys who have come to be that old head, that OG in the locker room. Yeah, that guys can get behind, because you're not doing that fake Raiders dance on the logo nonsense, man. You talk the talk and you walk the walk, and you ain't about flash or anything like that. You're about the inside of that locker room, coming together. It goes understated. The stuff that Frank, a high paid DN, coming from Seattle, another place with crowd noise, where he learned from those guys, how to create a defense, how to create a core. With those guys, the Legion of Boom with those guys. So Frank, I mean, I don't see any of the DNs who battle through neck injuries and stay quiet about it. You know, Frank don't do much talking. You know, he gets in off the field stuff. But him and Tyron, man, when you remember when they came together and hugged, and was like, oh, that's real chemistry. And you can't fake that stuff. You can't fake that stuff. Raider stuff, you can fake. You know, you can't fake chemistry.
Yeah, it seemed like they were trying to conjure something. They were trying to get themselves going in a very stupid way. It's going to come back at them for the next several years before
there's receipts now. Everything's got a receipt attached to it.
Yeah,
exactly. And we talk about Tyron and everything that he's done, and not even taking the off the field stuff. Like, he's exactly what you want a leader to be. And I thought his reaction after the game, when asked about the guys stomping on the logo, was just a perfect leadership. Like, I'm too petty. Like, I was pissed and just annoyed. And he was just like, champions don't act like that. It's just like perfect way of just stating, like, bopping him without being disrespectful. Just a great way to do it. Showing great leadership. And who else shows great leadership is Fairway Independent Mortgage. And Fairway Independent Mortgage makes the home loan process as simple as possible by guiding you through every step, just as they've done for the past 25 years. Call Jennifer Dixon at 816-390-8898. That's 816-390-8898. Great rates, a focus on customer service, and the fastest turn times in the industry. That's Fairway Independent Mortgage. And Tucker, it's time for your favorite segment, the Tucker's Crown Prime Beef of the Week. Thanks to our friends at Jack Stack Barbecue and the best meat in all of Kansas City. Tucker, what's the beef on social media this week? What do you got for us?
Well, I think the biggest beef was the Raiders trying to make a beef, right? I think that was kind of a big one, and the Raiders as an organization, their beef with good football. They seem to really hate playing good football. So yeah, it's been a short week, right? It seems like after that game, especially with it being a noon game, people kind of turn the page pretty quick. They're onto the Chargers game. Mentally on the socials, I've been keeping my finger on the pulse. It seems like they're ready for this game. It's been a short week. They got to turn the page on to the next one, and haven't really been talking much crap to the Chargers. I mean, Raider Cody's obviously doing what he does, but they're just kind of talking into the void at this point. No one's really paying him any attention. So that's kind of the biggest beef is the Raiders in good football. They don't like each other.
Sneak diss.
Yeah,
I like that.
I really appreciate everybody's passion when it came to stomping on the logo, because everybody kind of rallied around. It's like, hey, Chiefs Kingdom's got a lot of just internal drama about it, but like, you don't mess with our logo. Like, you don't mess with our stuff. We'll fight amongst ourselves, but don't mess with our stuff.
I like
Nick,
that.
Would that fire you up as a player? Somebody who's jumping around on a logo?
Oh, I think it's happened 2 or 3 times in my career where, like, you don't see it because, you know, you're heading to the locker room. So you're like, I don't care what's going on behind me. But someone come in like, hey, they just danced on our effing logo. You know, and you're like, oh, okay, well, let's give them the ball first so our defense can be hyped up and, you know, get them, you know. And it's like, that's what happened, man. It's like, it's karma sometimes, you know, bounces at you, you know, life comes at you quick sometimes and just downhill from there. Hey, shout out to, was it Anna Tobkin who played Wheels on a Bus? Is that? I was
just going to say it was either Anna, Kristen Pugh, Brad Young, Rob Alberino. Like, that's the rundown of one of them had the idea or they all approved it, but phenomenal.
Amazing. Just the complete troll job. You know, it's like, hey, we'll be quiet before the game and then we'll talk our talk after the game after we stomp you for doing some dumbness.
Yeah,
like
that's the crew from 65 Toss Power Trap and that run the Chiefs Arrow Vision. And for anyone who isn't following, they played Wheels on the Bus go round and round as the Raiders left the field on Sunday after disrespecting our logo and then disrespecting the game of football with that performance. And I don't even want to say that, you know, as the words come out, because that was a beatdown. That's to take nothing away from what the Chiefs just snatched their souls away from them. And it was just very satisfying from the very first play from scrimmage.
You know, it's a long game when you do that. And you're like, you're like, I don't really want to do this, but I'm going to back my teammates up like Carr. And just like, but I'll do it. And this is what we get. And I told you guys not to do this.
No matter how dumb my teammates say things, I will always support them. I have their back, no matter how dumb it is.
Do you guys remember a couple years ago when Baker Mayfield was with Oklahoma and they went to go shake Kansas's hand at the 50-yard line and Kansas didn't shake his hand? And then Kansas got like 50 balled or something. Yeah. And it was like the same thing. Like it was the same. It had the same vibes.
Yeah, that was that
Kansas
pre
going
Les
after
Miles?
Baker.
Was that pre Les Miles or was that Les Miles?
That's pre-Lance Miles.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
pretty
pre Les
sure.
Miles. Like I don't get either. Like, why would you do that? Like, it's just that belongs in middle school at best. That might work in middle school, but any other.
I thought you were talking about
level.
Baker taking the flag and planting
Bosa.
it because
Yeah.
that
was dope.
was just amazing. Like I
That's
will
a different
always be
level.
here for flag planting.
I'm
Mhm.
48.
But see, that was
need
after the
that
game, too.
visual
Correct.
representation, that just symbolism of like we own this place. Like I'm here for it.
You can do all you want after the game, but before the game, that's a little tricky.
Yeah. It's
You can,
great.
because then when you back it up, like it's the ultimate. Like we just back. Like, Raiders would come out and
It's
bop
pretty
the Chiefs. Like
badass.
okay,
Yeah.
but
It was a
instead
game.
you're going to be a clown forever. Like
It's a
you
bold
can't
move,
take
Cotton.
that back. That picture of Trayvon Mullen, who again I liked coming out of Clemson, like standing there with like all the memes, the L's, the scoreboard, like I'm here for all of them.
Yeah.
Tag me in every single one. Like I inject it into my veins. I need it.
Crying Jordan face from Conrad McGorkin on all the Raiders on the logo. I mean, all of
And
it.
Scott
Did it
did
to
that on
himself.
our post game. Yeah, he
Nice.
did it on ours. So, all right, guys, let's move to the final segment. And there's a couple things over the years, Nick. You and I have known each other a long time. Two things I know make you happy: a good happy hour
Oh yeah.
and blind nil. And luckily
Yes.
for you, Jack Stack's going to help us do both those right now because Jack Stack's got a new happy hour menu. All 6 Jack Stack locations around Kansas City. You can find deals on drinks. That's wine, cocktails, whatever you're into. $5 baby back ribs, things like that, and much more every Monday through Friday from 3 to 6 in the bar area and patio areas of all of the 6 Jack Stack locations around Kansas City. That is new. All uniform menus, drinks, fun food, 3 to 6 Jack Stack locations around Kansas City. That's a pretty good happy hour, Nick.
Man, that bar, so that Jack Stack on 87th and Lenexa took over the old Ignite, and the bar that they created there at that Lenexa location is sublime. It's just pretty. It's straightforward. It faces away from the restaurant, its own little part. They got a nice little outdoor patio, and they make a good old fashioned. I don't drink old fashions. Like I just like bourbon, but they make a damn good old fashioned there. And who was our server last week? Jules.
Jules.
Yep.
Jules, man,
We'd be back there
phenomenal
now,
food.
but they're too busy. They
That's too
don't
bad.
have
Right.
enough room. They
That's
don't
too
have enough
bad.
room for us. So our goal will
It's
be
really too
to
damn
be
bad.
back there. But always love a good happy hour. So if you're around Kansas City and you're looking to check one out, as we have a little bit of nice weather, you can still get outside on a patio before it gets a little too cold. Might be a little windy over the next couple of days, but get out to Jack Stack BBQ. And now let's get into blind nil. Nick, this is your baby, so let's start with you.
Yes. Okay, so with Aaron Rodgers being the supreme GOAT of pocket passers, have you guys been watching Mahomes pocket passing? Have you watched what our boy has been learning? I don't know if
I've
it's a
seen
good
better
blind nil,
footwork.
but I was thinking about it my whole day today.
I have seen I don't want to say concerted effort, because when you say that, it makes it seem like you can see someone thinking. What I see is somebody more comfortable within their footwork, kind of going through, I don't want to say the progressions, like I know what's going through his head. He just looks comfortable in the pocket. He's not drifting. He's not kind of moving his feet. Some of those like awkward get up on his tiptoes and try to like throw it. It was just weird at the beginning of the year. I don't see any of that. So like those are the things that judge for me how comfortable and how efficient the offense is being, how close are they to being back, is when Patrick Mahomes sitting in the pocket looking comfortable. And so far, that's what it looks like it's been recently.
So I think back to our conversation, BG, that we had with James Palmer, not on the postgame show, but when we had him on when everything was going wrong with the Chiefs, right? And I think one of the questions I asked him is like, what's going on with Patrick Mahomes? I think I'm simplifying that question, but he basically said, hey, it looks bad right now, but what he's doing is he's trying to basically lengthen his career by learning how to be in the pocket and be a pocket passer. There's some growing pains right now, but it's going to be good in the long term. And now we're just seeing that, what James said, like, everyone was ready to say, just let Patrick be Patrick, just snap him the ball and have everyone run around and have him run around. And people were ready for that to happen, but it's really paid off for him to get those games in where he did kind of take his lumps. His drops were too deep. He was getting sacked. He wasn't stepping up in the pocket at the right time. He was leaving the pocket when he shouldn't have. Now it looks like he's making all those decisions at the right time because he had those moments where he didn't make the right decisions, right? That's the easiest way to put it, I think.
I think it's funny that we're talking about that in the game in which he had the ultimate, I'm going to run to the corner and just F it, Tyreek's down there somewhere, throw back across his body, across the wind, the complete opposite direction. But you're exactly right. Like all those check marks and all those things that, you know, everybody when they go back and watch the game, or you just kind of pay attention. Like he doesn't look super comfortable as he was working through things. And as he was working through things, still ranking among the top like 6 to 8 quarterbacks in the league.
Yeah.
And now he's getting comfortable and just absolutely tearing things up. Nick, did you have one more point before we move on to the next blind nil?
Well, yeah. Well, I think to me, just watching it has been a progression, you know, learning this offensive line. You notice Orlando Brown's not in the media anymore for getting sacks, right? Because, you know, Mahomes isn't drifting back 10 yards. You know, he is comfortable. There was a learning process. And, you know, Mahomes used to make his hay on those quarterback sneaks or not sneaks, but where he'd run out. And then the delayed blitz from Baltimore really kind of crushed that. And so Mahomes had to adapt, you know, Andy Reid had to adapt. And so, you know, best way to do it is stay in your castle and play like Brady. You know, play like Rodgers, you know, make some plays if you can. I mean, that's the way you have a long career, and that's how you win championships.
All right. Again, appreciate everybody for tuning in to this episode of Outside the Trenches presented by our good friends at Jack Stack BBQ. Make sure to rate, review, subscribe, all of that good stuff. We are in our final segment and our blind nil, where we each bring a different topic that the other two are not aware of to close this thing out. Guys, my blind nil segment, what I want to know from you guys, and this is a weird one, but follow me. Like Nick, you're going to like it. If you could insert yourself into any Christmas movie ever made, and you just live in like that time, that movie, whatever's going on, your friends or your family, like, or the characters in the movie, whatever it is, what movie would you insert yourself into? And I will start to give you guys time to think about this, really, Odd Duck. And it was going to be football movie, but it's Christmas, so I switched it to Christmas movie. Mine is going to be Christmas Vacation. I feel like Clark Griswold and I would get along. He just thrives in chaos, and I feel like as running a company, Tucker can kind of attest to this. I function better when there's a billion things going on from a billion different ways. And I just absolutely love that movie, and I love Christmas. So I'm going to go with Christmas Vacation. I think hanging out with Uncle Eddie and throwing some back would be interesting.
Clarification.
So,
I need a clarification before Tucker answers.
Uh-huh.
Are we talking about a character or just existing in that world?
Existing in that world. You as a person, the way you are, going into that world. You don't get to be
like Clark Griswold's neighbor. Right?
Yes.
Is that, or not Margot and
on the other side of them.
I thought you were gonna be like Margot's brother. I'm like, if you want to insert yourself in that family, you can.
Okay, I got you. Yeah.
I don't know, Margot.
Those tracksuits are phenomenal.
I've watched the movie twice this weekend. I watched that movie. Tis the season, you know. My first thought was Christmas Vacation. That's I think my favorite one. Home Alone, I think, would be a good one to get to do all those pranks and stuff with Kevin McAllister. That would be fun. And then
that's a good one. I didn't even think about that.
And then Die Hard.
That'd be sick. Christmas movie.
That'd be sick to be in Die Hard.
Detective John McClane, right? Is that John McClane? Right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, it is.
Yes. It's John, Holly Gennaro, Holly McClane.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So yeah, those are my answers. I'm just like causing trouble. Apparently, I'm just a real menace to society in both of those movies. But it's
truly are.
No, you know what? I'll hijack this for a second because what actually got me started on this is the other night I watched Last Action Hero. If you remember that movie.
Oh wow, I've only seen snippets, and I know Tucker's never even heard of it.
Okay,
great Arnold Schwarzenegger flick.
Completely off.
That's a really good. That's a great premise.
They remake like every movie ever. They remake Blade Runner, all of those. Last Action Hero is one of those movies they could probably remake with like The Rock because it would be good, or somebody, and like the premise and the idea and the story behind it. Like you could do something cool with that nowadays. And that's what got me thinking of like, what would be a cool movie to go into? And it led to this blind nil. Started with football. And then I was like, that, you know, we'd all say the Little Giants or something. And then
no, I would not.
To,
don't say we all would say that. I've never.
Okay, you would pick.
Don't you dare, BJ. You know me better than that.
You would pick North Dallas 40 because it's your favorite
You know me
football
better
movie
than
ever.
you know me better than that. That's correct, BJ. That's correct.
I
And
know
why
you.
is that? And why is that?
I know your body.
You like
What's that? Is
breaking
that
into
the
medicine
others?
cabinets to get
There it is. This is going off the rails. All right, Nick,
No,
what movie
hold on.
would you
Hey,
put
Tucker.
yourself into?
If you say Tucker, let me translate to Gen Z. Have you
Okay.
seen Scream? Have you seen Scream?
Yeah.
So it's like a serious movie, but it redoes all the horror genres.
Yeah.
That's Last Action Hero.
Okay.
But it turns into real life. And then the characters are like Arnold tries to punch through a car window and he can't because it's not breakaway in the real world. And then they go to
Gotcha.
the cinematic world. Like it's a really, really amazing concept.
It is. Tucker, Netflix, go look it up, watch it.
Okay.
Arnold
You probably have to
Schwarzenegger,
buy
like
it.
in his prime. You'll like it, but it's funny that you brought up Die Hard because in Last Action Hero, he goes in, but even though like it's gunfire, like an action movie, like he can't get hurt because like he's with the hero doesn't get hurt. So like he's fine. So it's like going into Die Hard and you're with John McClane, but like you're invincible.
Right. Yeah.
Please run around, do whatever you want.
Scene.
Nick, what would you go into?
So if we're looking at getting into like the Marvel universe, I'm gonna go like full on trippy, and I'm gonna say the stop motion claymation Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. I'd like to see what I look like claymation. Is it claymation or stop? It's stop motion.
It's stop motion. Yeah.
That's what I want to be. I want to hang out with
like the Abominable Snowman.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say that all day too. Yukon Cornelius. And the Abominable
awesome.
Snowman who just had a toothache. But that's the
That'd be
world I
good.
want to live in. I want to live in that world. Like
Awesome.
move like, hey Santa, how are you? Right? This weird.
I like
little
it. Christmas
1970s.
Vacation, Die Hard, claymation. Like completely different answers. Very fitting.
There-
All right, Tucker, what do you got for blind,
blind no
notes
question
to
gonna
wrap
suck,
up
Tucker.
this show?
Yeah, my blind no question is going to suck because it has to do with football.
Lame.
I know. So
Stay in your lane,
with
bro.
the large grocery list of injuries that the Chargers have, would you rather play a team? I saw this discussion kind of going on in the chat over here. Would you rather play a team that's like fully healthy and you beat them, you feel good about it, or would you rather play a team with a full grocery list of injuries and win?
I'll say this, if in the context of you want to go up against the best and you want to like give yourself like that look against the best players in the league and go up against good teams to get your team ready and know where you're at, I would say yes. But because of the schedule the Chiefs have already played this year, they've already done that. So
Yeah.
I would assume every starter on every team has like a minor, like close contact with COVID and can't play. So like they don't have COVID, so they're not hurt, but like can't play in the game because I don't wish injury or sickness on anybody.
Right.
But yeah, I just assume, give everybody a rest, which means playing like the third stringers. Get rid of them all because they've already played the best teams in the AFC, best teams in the league, outside of the Aaron Rodgers State Farm Bowl that got ruined because of COVID.
Listen, it's Thursday game, so one sucks. The only good part about a Thursday is that you get your free weekend and you do three walkthroughs and then you go to the game. So that's the only good thing of Thursday.
Unless you're a close contact and then you don't get any practice, you just get to go to the game.
And if you're a rookie, it's the only time you'll ever feel like a 15-year vet is warming up for that Tuesday or Wednesday practice on a walkthrough. But honestly, when I was a player and you'd see like the top D lineman was ruled out like on a Thursday, you were like, oh my God, thank the Lord. Right. Correct. You're like, I want everyone to have like a hurt. We would say, man, I hope, Rashawn Slater, gets an upset tummy. I hope that, he can't, it's not, you don't wish death or leg injuries, but I hope he has an upset stomach before the game and is unable to play today type thing.
Mm-hmm.
So Thursday, late in the season, W's a W, counts for that first round bye.
Yeah.
I don't
quite literally blood in the water. Quite literally blood in the water with Frank Clark and the defensive line and Rashawn Slater not knowing if he's going to play with that. Like it.
Sack bonus.
Yeah, that's my train of thought, especially now. It's like you just have to collect wins at this point with the race toward the 1 seed with the Patriots and and seeing who's going to win there. But yeah, I think it would be nice to beat the Chargers fully healthy because they did beat the Chiefs early on in the season, right? And so you're saying, okay, that'd be kind of nice. But at this point, there's no such thing as a normal Thursday night game. All Thursday night games are weird. Something weird's going to happen. It's going to be an ugly game. It'll probably be like 12-6, just because that's what Thursday night games are. Or yeah, so it's either going to be a very low scoring game or an extremely high scoring game, and I don't think that there's anything in between. So with that, you just kind of have to take what you're given and just get out of there with as few lumps as you can.
Yeah, and it's definitely been a Jekyll or Hyde season for the Chargers, where we've seen the best of them. Obviously, they're coming out and playing really well against us, but going out and they just got smoked by the Ravens 34-6. They went out and lost to the Broncos by a couple of touchdowns a few weeks ago, lost to the Vikings, but then they come out and just take care of business over the last couple of weeks, scoring 78 points over the last 2 weeks. But they haven't had to go up against the league's number one defense over the last 6 weeks. And that would be the Chiefs, giving up just under 11 points per game. We appreciate everybody for tuning in to this episode of Outside the Trench. Nick, you're shaking your head. What thoughts do you got? Are you just,
man, I wish we could finish this podcast like last week when we had wings and some food on order, man. I'm really disappointed because I'm hungry right now. So,
I'm just really disappointed that Jack Stack is so busy that they did not have enough room for us in Lenexa. So hopefully they're less busy and they have room for us to come into their event center. But we appreciate Jack Stack, obviously, for being a sponsor of this show. We appreciate all of you out there for listening and for spending part of your Tuesday with us if you're tuning in live or whether you're listening to the podcast on Apple after the fact. We appreciate you. And don't forget, we've got more podcasts over the next couple of days. Check out One-on-One with Mike DeVito and Jeff Allen. Those guys will record, break stuff down. Again, breakdowns from Matt Castle each week, breaking down Patrick Mahomes. Derek Johnson, if you've heard of that guy, he breaks down the Chiefs defense on the KC Sports Network YouTube channel. So make sure you go there and subscribe so you don't miss any of that good content. And we will be going live after the game on Thursday night, and we'll be raffling off the 18 prizes as part of the Soul of KC holiday raffle and toy drive. Thank you so much for everybody who donated to that. We'll be raffling off those prizes, but thank you very much. Nick, you keep laughing. We're going to let you take us home.
Man, I want to see that Maddie Lane. Is that Maddie Lane doing the Frank Clark breakdown?
Craig will be doing that. Maddie and Matt will be breaking down some film from Patrick Mahomes. And then they're going to go to the whiteboard, talk about what they could see from the Chargers on Thursday. So that's been a fun one. So those breakdowns are good stuff. I get to watch them all as they happen. That's a treat.
Yeah, here you get to hear the strangest breakdowns, and over there you get X's and O's and all that kind of stuff. So you get a little bit of everything here at KC Sports Network. We appreciate your support. Again, be good to each other, and we will see you next time.
I want to see that. Hey, make sure